I know there are a lot of people out there who don't believe this, but girls actually play video games too. Seriously, I have a collection of games that most of you wouldn't believe, including Alien, Porky's, MASH, Super Plumber Brothers, and Strawberry Shortcake on the Atari 2600, and tons of rare games that I've bought over the decades new on just about every console ever released. I was playing Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot, and Silent Hill on the PSX before many of you were even born. So, Wreck-It Ralph immediately carved a special place in my heart for being a movie about video games that didn't pretend that girls have no interest in video games. But a real question that has always bugged me is Vanellope just waiting to die? We're told that Vanellope is a glitch, and we see proof that glitches can't leave their game. But then Sour Bill tells us that if Vanellope crosses the finish line, the game will reset and she won't be a glitch anymore. Yet, after this happens, Vanellope says, "I'm not giving this up," and chooses to remain a glitch? I mean, we end the film and she's in a good place, and Ralph tells us players love her, glitch and all, but then the beginning of the film talks about how so many games have come and gone, and it's implied that racing games in general seem to be particularly vulnerable to the next gimmicky game. And just because Vanellope learns to control when she glitches, that doesn't change the fact that her code is broken and she can't leave her game again, right? So, how does this system of rules work? Well, I think I may have an answer. Most arcade games are standalone systems. They often do not connect to the internet and they are dependent on being plugged in at all times. As King Candy informs us, if you are in a game when it's unplugged, you will die. Not be deleted, not glitch out, but actually die. That's kind of horrifying. None of these games have ever been moved to a new location in the arcade. What happens if there's a sudden power outage? Are you telling me that in 30 years this arcade never blew a fuse and Ralph and Fix-It Felix Jr. and everyone else in that game have never been turned off in all that time? Now, I have nothing from the movie to base this off of, but I would speculate that newer games, the type that are played at home on consoles, would allow the characters to jump off of their ending cartridge/CD disc to live inside the console itself, be that a PlayStation, Xbox, computer, Wii U, 3DS, whatever. That would keep the sentient characters safe while other games are being played. Because even when the home consoles are turned off, they still get some power sent to them at all times. But if these games are nothing but code, how do the characters in them spring to life? I guarantee you that I'm overthinking this, but the best I can figure is that the electrical charge from getting plugged into a wall is to video games as the Allspark is to the Transformers. It's like a big bang where everything in their game universe suddenly comes online and everyone knows their role in that world. So what happens when you unplug the world? They all seem terrified of dying, so I believe them when they say that that's what will happen to them. But a better question would be, what happens when you replug this world in again? If the arcade owner sold a machine to another venue, or a console owner moved to a new house, the games will almost always come back on and work just fine. No missing characters, no dead bodies lying around. So how do we explain this giant plot hole? I think the key to that answer is found within the golden coins. If you recall, when Ralph demands his medal back, King Candy tells him it's not possible because it's only code now. But later on in the movie, we watch King Candy go into the coding and manipulate it to get the medal back out. Basically, everything inside of the game is already inside of the game, and while unplugging the system deletes the entire world, the code is still there. When someone plugs the machine back in, presto, you get an entire new world that's brought to life with identical characters. Except they're identical in terms of factory settings. They know their role and limitations within their game, but they've been completely made again from scratch and therefore have no prior memories of what the game character did beforehand. Do I make any sense here? I feel like I never make any sense. Okay, let's say Sugar Rush gets unplugged and Glitch Vanellope can't escape. When that happens, Glitch Vanellope is gone for good. She's dead, like the movie keeps beating into our heads. But as soon as Sugar Rush is given power again, the game will generate new characters from its code and will be given a non-glitching version of Vanellope who has no idea that Glitch Vanellope ever existed. It'll be a blank slate. And let me stop you before you complain. When Ralph leaves Fix-It Felix Jr., the game does not respawn a new Ralph. Why? That's because the arcade console never gets worked on, so it's never reset or unplugged. Ah, but now you're saying that that can't be right because Sour Bill said that Sugar Rush would reset if Vanellope crossed the finish line. And yes, that is true. We saw it with our own eyes. But there are two different forms of resetting. We have hard resets where someone or something physically disrupts the power flow to a machine, forcing it to start itself over again once power is returned, which often takes the system back to its last saved settings, or factory settings in the case of an older arcade game. Then we have soft resets, where you reboot a system, game, program, or whatever without interrupting the power. So it's essentially the difference between clicking restart on a desktop or just ripping the cord out of the wall to make it shut down that instant. One is the proper preferred way to do things, and the other is not, and can lead to undesirable side effects. The problem is, many arcade gaming systems are dependent on a constant power source to maintain their data, because if the game doesn't have the capability to save anything outside of the original coding, it doesn't have its own battery source to support that memory if the system gets unplugged. Think back to that Seinfeld episode where George desperately tries to save a Frogger system because he has the high score on it, but if the machine loses power, the score goes with it. That's the problem of Wreck-It Ralph in a nutshell, and that explains why arcade games can be unplugged, the characters can run out of the game forever, yet the game would still work just fine at the next venue it goes to. It's all a never-ending cycle of regenerating the various game universes. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to like, subscribe, and share this video. I've also got a lot of other videos on my channel that you are fully encouraged to go check out. Plus, you can find me on Facebook at Say Halo Goodbye, which is my gamer tag, or Twitter at _Fanily.